Welcome to Executor mirror matches. The best practice is to, you don't really care about practices. How do you want to win? That's what's important. So, the first step is to check the relic levels of your fleet and your opponent's fleet. So if this is number one here, if their Razor Crest and their Xanadu Blood are both faster than your own Razor Crest, you're not going to lose for sure. You can always get some positive RNG, but you're probably going to lose. Secondly, if your Razor Crest goes before their Xanadu Blood, you have a very high chance of winning. And finally, if your Razor Crest and your Xanadu Blood go before their Razor Crest, this is number 3, you can probably hit auto. I have 5 fights to show you a number of these things that we'll go into. And then the edge cases. No matter what you do, sometimes you're going to be screwed. So the first one here, where breach of protocols, which is Executor's mass attack, if the damage is evaded or misses, the dispel won't happen on that target. I've actually seen this happen. I have not ever had it happen to me. And the second one, where your Razor Crest gets double hit twice by Xanadu Blood, both of the times they apply breach. So this, you have to get targeted and 2 times double hits, and that means the enemy's Razor Crest contract will go off, and your Razor Crest does not cleanse. Anyway, I'll show that as well. But those are the 2 edge cases where you're going to lose almost no matter what. So hello there. Let's take a look at these 5 different fights. As I mentioned before, my fleet up here on the top. It's an R8 Executor and Razor Crest, and R7 Xanadu Blood, and Houndstooth, although Houndstooth doesn't really play any role in winning or losing these fights. So let's watch number 1. This is a mirror where I lose, and I have some bad RNG. And it's this contract that I mentioned earlier gets activated. So I go second, which is normally a good situation for me. That's a double tap there. Never target Razor Crest in this situation. You always target Houndstooth, so your mass attack can target their Razor Crest. Pretty basic stuff. I will also say that this stall strategy that used to work prior to the changes about a month or so ago no longer works. There's no effective stall strategy that I have found. So this is a 50-50 whether the Houndstooth goes after your Razor Crest or the Houndstooth. Very 50-50. Besides the enemy Razor Crest with the special and Executor, whether they go after the marked target or the Houndstooth, the taunting target, seems very coin flip to me in my experience. So now here comes 2 more double taps, and even though in this fleet my Xanadu Blood is the same as theirs, they got the contract and plus 25% speed with that contract, so their Xanadu Blood will go first for sure. You'll also see here that I also get unlucky and I don't cleanse the debuffs because my breach was resisted on their Razor Crest, so that's another bit of bad luck. And they were able to target me with the Xanadu Blood. So just the AoE alone, I might have survived, but because they targeted me, it did the bonus damage because I had breach active. And yeah, the fight's over. It doesn't really matter where we go from here. I'm just going to skip on to the second one. You see, actually, I stretch this out another 2 minutes. But once in this situation, I only tried it 3 times. I only encountered it 3 times. Once I won, but the other 2 times was a crushing loss. So not worth talking about, I don't think. So here we're going to go to number 2. So I go second. RNG is sort of normal. This is my preferred situation, going second. My Razor Crest also goes second. So let's watch out what happens. This is a fully maxed fleet. Well, currently at least, because there's only 1 R9 available in game. They go first. Target my Razor Crest. That's a double tap. The opening here is always the same. I go on them. I get a double tap, that's nice. This is the 50-50 I talked about, where Houndstooth could have gone for my Razor Crest, but went for the taunt instead. Just 50-50 that I found. They attack again, they get another double tap. Their buffs were cleansed, debuffs were cleansed. My debuffs were cleansed, which is good, and I got a double tap. Their contract was triggered, well, mine was as well. Here, I'll go for the AoE. And now you'll see my Razor Crest takes a turn before theirs because my contract went off first, and their Razor Crest has the breach since my Razor Crest moves second. This is why it's very important, when possible, for your Razor Crest to go after their Razor Crest. That's when you stand the best chance of winning, assuming your debuffs are cleansed. So a basic, it's dead. Another double tap, that's nice, but the fight is essentially over now. The only way they would possibly win is if they do a huge crit here, but it shouldn't be, yeah, not even half of my remaining health. Slave 1 is always reinforcement and just basic. My contract is activated, my Executor contract. What you don't notice here, and it's very hard to tell unless you play on one-time speed, is how many times Slave 1's basic hits. It can hit up to 3 times. Each time it hits, it can inflict target lock, and each time it says that, your Death Star move is reduced by 1 cooldown. But it's hard to tell how many times it's hitting, so use the basic whenever you can. Going after Xanadu Blood, double taps and killed it, but it doesn't really make that big of a difference. A nice counter attack. Another lucky nice counter attack. Basic. No, I went for the AoE. I think I was counting at the time. Yeah, so I would have had to get all of the basics to make my contract available. But I still could have done it. The fight is not really in any danger though. You'll notice their contract from Executor is still not activated. I call Slave 1 to make sure I have my Death Star move active. And there we go, fight's over. So that was again me moving second. The only RNG that really went in my favor was when the Houndstooth targeted my Houndstooth instead of my Razor Crest. I did get some good luck on my side, but nothing that really dramatically changed the fight. So here is the third fight. This is against a different guy, but another fully maxed fleet. I did get some good RNG in this fight. See how it goes, but I'm still going to move second. All the R9 ones, obviously. There's a double tap there. I did not get a double tap. They went for my Houndstooth again, that's nice. And here's the main RNG benefit where Razor Crest called Houndstooth instead of Xanadu Blood. So that's a huge advantage for me. This happens, in my experience, maybe 30% of the time. I don't think it's a 50-50, but again, this is not even 100 tests I did in total, so it's hard to say. So I did also cleanse my debuffs. Their contract was activated before mine, so they have more speed than I do now. They get the reinforcement. Now if they ability block me, that would be annoying, but it got evaded. But this is the great advantage in going second, is reacting to their reinforcement. If you bring in your Slave 1 first, they'll oftentimes bring in the IG-2000 and stun it, and so here I got my contract. They'll stun your Slave 1, and you don't get the chance to counterattack, which doesn't help you win the alt race. Okay, there we go. Their Razor Crest is dead. Some double taps, which are nice for the alt. Counterattack. There you go. Applied breach. I'm reading to count how many times. Yeah, I can 2 turns. Second and third time the attacks. I was just reading it. Anyway, another basic or 2 or 3, hard to tell in this 4 times mode. 2 attacks, that's nice. Yeah, I think you will fast forward a little bit here. And there's my ultimate, and the fight's over. So again, another R9 fight where it's a pretty easy win. But I did get a little bit of lucky RNG. So this is a third one where it's a mirror, except their Xanadu blood is slower than my Razor Crest, which makes an enormous difference. As you'll soon see, I could probably auto this one. So this is one of the key points when you're going in these matchups. If your, well, it's both sides. If the reverse is true, if your Razor Crest is slower than their Xanadu blood, you're going to have a difficult time winning. Or you're much more likely to be blown out of the water in the opening salvo if they win the coin flip. So here, they went first, that's fine. The opening is always the same here. Make my move, I got a double tap, that's nice. They went for my Razor Crest this time. They only got one tap from Xanadu blood. The second tap wouldn't have killed me, but I would have been quite low. I got a double tap, that's nice. My buffs were cleansed, and I got my contract first. That's very helpful. And so, personally, in my experience, versus an R8 Xanadu blood, this is an R5, so I'm in real no danger. But an R8 Xanadu blood, if they double tap me twice, as long as I don't have breach for all 4 of those double taps, if one of them doesn't have a breach, I'll survive their AoE. So again, it's one of those weird edge cases. I didn't mention it before, but it's very rare that it happens for equally leveled or geared Razor Crest and Xanadu blood. So their Razor Crest is gone. You can see like they don't have their Razor Crest contract. They gave me some nice counterattacks. I count my basics, I think, more effectively in this fight. Trying to remove their chance at double taps. I missed out on one potential basic there. Here I do a basic to remove Foresight, so I have a higher chance of getting multiple hits with Slave 1. Just basic, again, for the double taps. That was a misclick. I meant to call Slave 1, but I did on Houndstooth instead. You can see what happens with the fight, but here is sort of the, if you time everything correctly by this turn of your Executor, you'll be able to use your ultimate. So that's like a perfect scenario, but again, I go second twice. I got a tiny bit lucky, like 1 out of 4 I got lucky, and it's a very easy win. Now, the last one we're going to show here is a loss, where I'm going first twice, and you can see the AI actually effectively using the same strategy that I'm talking about, where it's better to go second. So I go first, double tap, breach, everything great. They go for my Houndstooth instead of my Xanadu blood or my Razor Crest. That's more beneficial for me, really. They even attack my Houndstooth instead of my Razor Crest. So now I'm free of any debuffs. Everything is going fantastic. But because their Razor Crest goes second, I now have breach on my Razor Crest, so it's slower. And they have no more debuffs on theirs. I get my contract first, and their Razor Crest is almost dead. Oh, there's their contract. And look at that. Now they got their Executor contract as well. My turn. Should be able to bring in Slave 1 and do the AoE and kill their Razor Crest if I'm lucky. Yep, fantastic. So bad, but not horrible. But because their contract was activated, they did the AoE. Not looking good for our hero. Finally, my contract is activated. I have 6 turns to go. Healing up Slave 1 to make sure he stays alive for the basics. Double tap, nice. Lost my Xanadu blood. That probably cost me right there. Here, I should have gone for a basic if I'm trying to race to the ult, but in my experience, this is a loss. So I could have had this at 3 or 2. Trying to go for the alt here. Now that timer's down to 2, but there's 1 evade. This is a very, very sneaky reinforcement. Going for more basics. So if I had gone for basics before on slave 1 and gotten lucky with a couple of extra hits, his maximum, this possibly could have been at 0, and it's a possibility that I could have won the alt race, but instead they won. And this is why I don't like going first, why I think second is a much better choice, because you can control this race to Executor's ultimate and not have to put yourself in this situation. So I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments or stop by Discord. I'd love to learn something new if I missed something out here, and I hope you found it helpful. Cheers.